Hello my lovely future corporate Mazdoor. So today we will discuss about TCS most asked question in interview. So let's move on without wasting time and do hit a like button and subscribe to my channel for more such videos. So what is OOPS? OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming, and the first point is it is a programming paradigm that uses objects and classes to organize codes. Okay, why we do so? Because it is a way to promote modularity, reusability, and scalability. The third point you will include it revolves around the concept of objects. And what is object? It is an instance of classes that contain both data, which is attribute, and method, that is functions. Let's move on. Four pillars of object, that is encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. So what is encapsulation? Encapsulation means binding the data, that is variable, and codes, that is methods, together into a single unit called class, and also restricting access to some of the object's component. So let's move on. Here you can see the class student, which has a private string name and int age, and we can not access directly, but we can modify or access through the public class. Okay, so here we can see the setter method we are using to set the name, and also we are using the setter method for set age. We are modifying or accessing through this, and we are also getting it, means using the getter method string get name, return name, and string get name. So we can modify using the setter and getter or access them. So here you can see data members name and age are private, meaning they cannot be accessed directly. We use public method to access and modify them. Here we go for abstraction. Abstraction means hiding the internal implementation and showing only the necessary features of an object. So here you can see we have a class ATM, and we are showing only the withdraw cash function, means the people we can't see the internal functioning. That is, you can see in the private there is internal functioning, authenticate user, process transaction, void dispense cash. So these functions are private, and no one can't see this. Only the useful thing and only what you need is shown, like withdraw cash. So this is how it works. So user only see withdraw cash, the other internal steps are hidden. This is an exception in action. Let's move on. Inheritance. So inheritance is a mechanism where one class child inherits property and behavior, that is method, from another class, that is parents. For example, here you can see one class animal, which has a public void eat function, in which it is outputting this animals eat food. And now we are creating class dog, which is inheriting from public animal, and its function is bark, and it's taking the value of eat, function of eat. Okay. Okay, so explanation: dog class inherits the eat method from animals. This promote code reuse. Polymorphism means many forms. It allows one interface to be used for a general class of action. It is of two type, that is compile time polymorphism, which is achieved by function overloading, and the next one is runtime polymorphism, which is achieved by function overriding using virtual function. So what is compile time polymorphism? How it works? You can see here is a class print, in which we have a function in the public. So we are using the show function for integer also, and the same show function is used for the string value also. So we are using same function for overloading. Now runtime polymorphism is also called the function overriding. So here we are using the class shape, which has a virtual void draw, and now we are taking class circle, and it is inheriting from the public shape. So here class circle is inheriting from the public shape, and we are accessing this draw function and overriding it. Here we are outputting drawing a shape, and after overriding we are outputting drawing a circle. So in compile time polymorphism, method is selected at compile time, and in runtime polymorphism, selection is done at the runtime using virtual functions. So here is the summary. So encapsulation is for data hiding via access specifier, whereas it uses the example like private variables with get and set methods. And abstraction is for hiding complexity and show essentials. So example is ATM machine interface. Inheritance is reuse code through parent child relationship, and example is dog inherit from animals. And the next is polymorphism, means one name and many forms. Example is function overloading or overriding. Here we go to the next. What is the difference between compile time and runtime polymorphism? So compile time is also called as method overloading, and runtime is also called as method overriding. The compile time has a resolution time at compile time, whereas runtime polymorphism has resolution time at runtime. Compile time is achieved by function or operator overloading, whereas runtime is achieved by virtual function. The example of compile time, you can see the add function is using int, and also the same add function is also including float values. And the runtime is base class pointer calling the derived method. Example, you can see this is the compile time. The add function is taking the integer value and returning its sum value, and float function is now again add function is using a float value and returning the float values. The runtime is here the class animal, which has a virtual speak function in which we are outputting the animal, and we are creating one dog class which is inheriting from the animal class, and we are taking this speak function and overriding it and outputting the dog. What is the difference between abstraction and encapsulation? So abstraction means hiding complexity, whereas encapsulation means binds data with code. Abstraction focus on what to do, whereas encapsulation focus on how to do. Abstraction is achieved using abstract classes and interfaces, whereas encapsulation is achieved by classes and access modifier. And abstraction is example like ATM showing only interfaces, whereas encapsulation means ATM machine hiding internal logics. Next, what is construction and what are the types of constructors? So a constructor is a special method that is automatically called when an object is created. You can see there are three types of constructor. First one is default constructor, in which there is no argument. Next one is parameterized constructor, which contain the parameters, and the next one is the copy constructor, which initializes the object using another object. Example, you can see here the student function, which has no parameter, you can see, and this is the parameterized constructor because it is have a parameter intr. And the last one is copy constructor, which is taking the value from student. Here we are using the ampersand so that it is initializes object using another object. What is the difference between method overloading and overriding? So in method overloading, you are using same method name but different signatures, okay, but in method overriding you are getting same method name and signature. So you are overriding the same thing, but here we are using the same method, but the signature can be different. Like we have seen, we are taking the add value in int also, and the same add value we are taking as a float value also. So same method but different signature occurs in the same class overloading, and in overriding parent child class can occur. Overloading is happen at compile time polymorphism, whereas overriding is a runtime polymorphism. What is inheritance and types of inheritance? So inheritance allows one class to acquire properties and behavior from another class, okay. So there are different types of inheritance like single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, hybrid inheritance. So we will see in details. So this is in single inheritance, a child class inherits from one parent class. Like here the class dog is inheriting the properties from public animal class, And multiple inheritance is a child class inherits from more than one parents. Like here the child class is inheriting from the public class also, and mother class also. And multi-level inheritance is a class inherits from a child class, which in turn inherits from another class. Like grandparents is inherited from parents and then child. So here you can see class C, which is inheriting from class B, and class B is inheriting from class A. This is a multi-level inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance means multiple classes inherit from a single base class. That is, you can see here a single base class is animal, and we are inheriting the class cat is inheriting the animal as well, and the class dog is also inheriting from the same animal class. Hybrid inheritance is a combination of two or more types of inheritance. Example, multiple plus multi-level. It can be any other also, single plus hierarchical, like that. So often require virtual inheritance to resolve ambiguity. Let's move on. Here you can see multi-level. So what is a virtual function and why it is used? So a virtual function allows runtime polymorphism. It is declared using virtual keyword in the base class, and also it ensures that the derived class method is called even when using a base class pointer. Okay, so here you can see this is the base class, and in that we are using the virtual function for void show, which is outputting the base. And now we have used one derived class, which is inheriting from the class base class and overriding the show function, and outputting derived. What is friend function? A friend function can access private or protected members of a class even though it's not a member. Okay, it is used for accessing private or protected member. It is declared using a friend keyword. So you can see here in the class box we have private int width, and in the public we are accessing that box function with width is equal to 10. With the friend function we are directly accessing it, and then we are printing it. What is an abstract class? So an abstract class is a class with at least one pure function, cannot create object of abstract class. Okay, it cannot create objects, guys. So let's see. The class shape is here. We are using the virtual draw function. It is a pure virtual function. And now we are taking one circle class, which is inheriting from public base class, means shape class. And now we are using a draw function and overwriting to the circle. So here we have used one pure function. This is how abstract class work. It is like a blueprint, guys. So difference between class and object. So class is a blueprint for objects, whereas object is a instance of a class. Class has no memory allocation, whereas object has memory allocated. And the syntax of class is class car. In the curly braces you write the functions, and object is defined as car c1. This is how the ops concepts completed, guys. If you want more things to know, then go and google it, whatever you can do. But I have already showed most asked question. Please, whenever you are doing oops concept, then please see the codes and understand the code, because sometimes what happen, they will tell you to write in the pen and paper and explain them how it is working. Like they can ask the inheritance code to write you and explain it. So whatever you are doing in the oops, please also understand the codes and how will you write in front of interviewer. So practice that. And for more help, guys, do subscribe and like this video. Bye bye.